we're talking right now about Islam encroaching the Western countries, but we've also been saying that Islam is subsiding. So can you please, this is kind of going to the next topic now. Can you explain what you mean by Islam is subsiding?
Okay, so this actually also connects with the clash of civilizations that I was talking about. The main reason why this clash is being intensified in the case of Islam is because of the living situation that Muslims are in. So let's make a comparison between a typical Western society and a Muslim one, where you end up with the economy, the quality of life, having a lot to do with religion subsiding in those Western societies. If that were the case in Muslim and Arab societies, then you will definitely see that this belief in an ideology that puts you against the West is also going to subside to some extent. And I think a model like, for example, the UAE, they have a very opulent and kind of extravagant way of life. It's probably too extreme for what needs to be done, but it shows that it's possible to move away from some of those more extreme aspects of the religion if you have people living comfortably, living without an economic or social requirements that many of the other people in the rest of the Muslim world are going through. So when I'm saying that it's subsiding in the sense that religion is subsiding throughout the world. If you look at Steven Pinker's views about what's actually happening in the world throughout the 20th century, the diminishing of crime, the reduction in poverty, and so on, all of this is also affecting the Muslim world, even though it might not seem so. But I think that this is affecting everybody. And if a trend of that sort persists, then I would say definitely that this is going to be affecting religion and Islam on top of those in a way that would cause its effects to subside with time.
So let me present a potential counterexample or a slew of them. You said in one of the last episodes something that I never thought of before. It made a lot of sense. You explained how in the U.S. versus the Europe, we all have freedom of religion. It's a lot stronger in our culture here in the U.S. and in our laws, to the point that one big difference between the two versions of freedom of religion is here, the government is not involved in managing religion. Over there, they are. And that led to a lot of what you said was proliferation in religions in the US. Now, isn't this a counterexample in the sense that, like, if you look at all the cults that have formed in the US, okay, there's a lot of cults that are not religious. A lot of them are. And actually, let me ask a question too. This thing you're saying of life's getting better, wouldn't that also help the non-religious? Is it helping them?
It is helping the non-religious. And what I'm claiming right now is that those tasks that have been assigned traditionally to religion in Europe have been taken up by the state. And so people are not relying as much on religion in order to get that social economic relief that they would otherwise. By contrast, in the US, where religion is thriving, since the government is not having a direct influence, you can see that the religion is still having that effect.
So let me ask a question then. If I understand what you're saying correctly, then if there was a different thing that happened in the past 1,000 years where freedom of religion, the US version of freedom of religion happened for some reason, let's say in the UK 500 years earlier, let's say. Because it was an earlier point in history with shittier societal conditions and shittier technology, right? Then the proliferation of religion and cults would have been even more, and it would have been worse than what we're seeing today. Like,
So
right?
you're what you're trying to do is to create a model similar to what you have in the US, but in the UK a few hundred years ago. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, only to try to say, I'm trying to see I'm trying to separate the two effects, the two factors that are in opposition. One factor is, as we go into the future, because of technology and improvements in, well, it's mainly just technology, we become wealthier. In effect, we get more things. Our lives are nicer. We want our technology. We want our phones. It makes us less focused on dumb shit, like what's in a book from 2,000 years ago. But 500 years ago, there was less of that, is my point. Less of that stuff. So
right.
If we had, so you get my question now?
Well, if you go 500 years ago and you fully go with that, then you also have to look at what kind of justification you would have for it, because the historical circumstances that were ripe enough for it to happen in the US and in parallel to some extent in Europe, mainly in France, this started after having gone through those 500 years. So I'm not sure going 500 years if it's actually going to produce that same kind of.
It's very hard. It's almost like saying, and I have this trouble, like when people tell me, like if I say I shouldn't have had kids when I did or whatever, they tell me, oh, but then you wouldn't have X, Y, and Z happen afterwards, and you wouldn't be the same person, and you wouldn't be as whatever. Okay, I don't really know what happened. I can't say. It's too difficult, even in my one life.
Yes.
So what we're describing is way more complex than that, because we're talking like 1 billion people across 500 years. Yeah, I don't really know what would happen even in my own life if I didn't have kids. So I guess scratch that stupid question.
I mean, it's interesting to think about it as a kind of an abstract possibility. It's just that there are so many variables that you have to account for that it's really
even in my one life.
Yeah.
We are 13 minutes over. I think we did well discussing these things and keeping them intact. There's two.
I think it wouldn't hurt to revisit this maybe later on as we know more, as we have more distance from
more things come out. Sure. We'll probably do an episode just on this, maybe way later after. Like you said, a whole bunch of stuff came out. Yeah, but anyway, I had two more topics listed in this series of what's the future of Islam. It's still the two kinds of jihad and the Islamic Golden Age. Do you want to? How much time do you have left right now?
No. I don't think it's a good idea to do.
Okay, they're big topics. Yeah. So I guess we're stopping now. Does anyone in the audience want to say anything to us before we go? Any questions about these things we've been talking about? I noticed what's happening in the comments is there's people talking to each other. I wonder, should our comments be purposed for that, or just them talking to us, or it's okay to have both?
Well, I very often notice that in live streams, that's basically what happens.
And they like to do it, right? But then that makes it hard for me to see anything. I don't know. I guess it's not too bad right now. I was able to read
probably having a moderator would.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I haven't asked anyone. There are people who are interested or whatever. I'm kind of waiting for somebody, hint, whoever's listening, to say, hey, I want to be a moderator. Not really. Hank Aaron says, peace in 4 languages. All right. Well, I guess that's it then. Simon, please stay on for a couple minutes.
Sure.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.